Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It is KASM Radio for your Wednesday, February the 21st, 2018. NRCS Partyline brought to you by Wimmer Opticians of St. Cloud, Atlas Family Chiropractic, Wade Park, West Central Sanitation. In studio with me, Dennis Fuchs from the Soil and Water Conservation District. Also, we have Rick Berscheid with us from the National Resources Conservation Service, NRCS. Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Good morning, Brad. It's great to be back here.
Have you been here since January, or is this?
No, I missed the last show.
This is the first time in 2018 you have come to our studio.
Yeah.
Happy New Year!
Yeah, Happy New Year to you, Brad.
Meow. We didn't even rehearse that.
Yeah,
no.
That was pretty awesome.
Dennis, how are you? How are you doing, Rick?
Great.
Everybody's good?
Yeah. We've been mixing it up a little bit here on our last few radio shows. We just thought it'd be nice to bring in some of our producers and then also some of our other staff in the office, too, to let our listeners hear a few other people other than Dennis and myself.
Yeah, I'm sure your listeners get tired of hearing the same old voice day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out.
See, I would have a job if that was the case.
Oh, well, if you're a professional like yourself,
yeah,
it's a different
sure.
story.
All right, I didn't pay you to say that. You're not getting any cash either. You want to talk about you got a kind of a Pheasants Forever thing coming up.
Yeah, we actually, I am on the board of directors with the Pheasants Forever chapter here in Stearns County, and our local chapter has been very supportive of the conservation efforts out of our USDA service center, and they've been very supportive of helping pay for a farm bill biologist position in our office to work with landowners that would like to pursue Conservation Reserve Program or Reinvest in Minnesota, the RIM program, Conservation Reserve Enhancement Program. And they've got a banquet coming up here Saturday, March 3rd. And that's going to be at Elmer's in Sauk Center. And the doors open at 5:30, and the banquet starts at 7:30. And if you'd like to be part of that, you can give Chris Den, he's our banquet chair, and I'm going to give you his phone number. And you can give him a call if you'd like to learn more information. They also have a website, but let me give you Chris's phone number first. That's 320-761-8695, and that's Chris Den. Or you can just Google Stearns Pheasants Forever, and that'll pop up. Or if you want the actual website, I can give that to you also. That's www.stearnspf.org. And it's going to be a great evening. We're going to be raffling off a bunch of stuff. As you know, it's a fundraiser to generate funds to help get some wildlife management areas on marginal cropland here in Stearns County. And we've been very good working with folks to generate some income, and then also leveraging some of the state funds through the Clean Water Legacy Act to leverage those funds to help pull some marginal cropland aside and create wildlife habitat, not only for pheasants, but for all kinds of critters out there, from deer to wild turkeys to pollinators to monarchs, you name it. And then these areas, since they're in natural condition and native condition, it's also a great way to improve water quality in some of these spots. And it's just been a great program in partnership with the Stearns Pheasants Forever chapter. And one other thing that they always do at these events is they honor our outstanding conservationists. And last year, that was Jerry Finch and the Plum Creek Neighborhood Network. They've been very involved with the St. Augusta area of the county. There's Plum Creek down there, and that was impaired with bacteria. And Jerry Finch has been very involved with trying to identify where this bacteria is coming from. Is it livestock? Is it poultry? Is it ducks, geese, or is it natural? And we've been working with a researcher from the University of Minnesota, Minnesota. The person's name is Michael Sadowski, who was actually highlighted in the Star Tribune this past Sunday. He's also doing other projects, and one of them is looking at the bacteria in your gut and how sometimes you don't feel good because you don't have the right gut bacteria, and they're taking fecal bacteria from healthy people, drying it, encapsulating it, and you ingest that, and by golly, all of a sudden you start feeling better. So he's doing some really earth-shattering research, and then he comes up and takes a look at the bacteria that we found in Plum Creek, and he can identify if it came from a duck, bovine, or a human species based on the DNA analysis of the bacteria. And what we're finding out is most of the stuff is not from any of these smoking gun sources. So Jerry Finch has been very, very involved, and he really wants to figure out what the problem is and get it delisted. The guy is 80-some years old, and he wants to accomplish this before he starts working for the big guy. Mm-hmm. And he's just fantastic, and he's got the whole Plum Creek Monitoring Network. Those folks really excited about trying to solve the problem. And our board of SWCD supervisors last year recognized him as our outstanding conservationist. And the Pheasants Forever chapter will be doing that also at their banquet on Saturday, March 3rd. So why don't you come on out and spend a little money and shake Jerry's hand for doing a great job trying to get an area delisted. I tell you, if we had a lot of folks like Jerry out there, it'd make Rick and I's job a lot easier, because these folks are dedicated and passionate about solving problems.
You said back to when they were doing the research, there was no smoking gun. So does that mean everybody's contributing equally, and there's not a major source? Or?
Well, and what they're realizing is that there's natural populations of bacteria in the stream
already there.
Okay, and bacteria is very difficult, and we're learning a lot more. And some of the technology that they used to predict that there was a problem is, a couple decades old. And now we're changing on how we look at this bacteria, and we might have to, because we identify bacteria in the stream, doesn't mean it's going to kill you. Doesn't mean it's pathogenic. So trying to separate if it's pathogenic or non-pathogenic types of bacteria is also a whole nother field of science that is developing. And through this process, we have learned a lot. And so we did not identify any major contributions of human, duck, geese, that type of thing, and or bovine in these samples. But we still cannot delist it because of some of the older technology that tells you if you can or cannot delist. So we've got new research, new science coming on that's going to help hopefully delist this in the future. But right now, we're continuing to collect some more samples, and Jerry and his group are going to be helping us again collect samples out there this summer.
Dennis, put on your headphones for a moment. Joe said we have a phone call, so this must be pertinent to our conversation. Hi, you're on KASM Radio. How can we help you today?
Yeah, good morning. I live south of Albany here on County Road 10. And St. Martin Wildlife area out here, there's a public access road to it off of 10. And there's people in the neighborhood here want to close that road. That road gives access to that property. And in the wintertime, they hunt coyotes and fox, and they deer hunt and pheasant hunt in there and duck hunt. So I'm wondering if you guys could maybe put some energy toward trying to keep that road open.
Can you help in that respect, Dennis and Rick?
Probably not.
Or who would they
if there was an erosion concern, I could help with solving that to keep the road open. Say there's a big gully that caused a problem that you couldn't access the road because you had a flood and flood damage and blew out the road. That would be a question. If that's a waterfowl production area or a wildlife management area, we could have you get in contact with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and or the Minnesota DNR. Mm-hmm. And if you want to give us a call at our office, we could set you up with the appropriate people to make sure that you could visit with them to let them know what's happening on what type of road is getting closed. And our phone number at the office is 320-251-7800, and we're at extension 3. And give us a call, and we'll try to figure this problem out on who you should be working with to get that access to the public land.
Okay, thanks for your phone call. We're going to take a break in about 45 seconds. When we come back, we're going to talk about you guys being at the farm show. That's coming up next week already. So we'll talk about that. You've got a Farmers Fair, second annual. That will be happening on March the 8th, Thursday. We'll talk about that at Roadside Tavern in Roscoe. We're going to talk about CSP, right, Rick, after we get back?
Absolutely.
And more if possible. All the information you could ever want.
Yes.
And need.
Yes, everything. Right here at KASM.
Right. I like your voice today, Dennis. It's got that, I don't know, either you've been practicing your delivery or it's just.
I got a cold.
That's what I figured. I wasn't sure if it was one or the other. All right, we got some sunshine. Our temperature right now here in Albany is at, well, let's do a little refresh here. It is one above with west winds at 8, feels like 13 below. News and weather for you right now, Minnesota News Network. It's 9:30. It's KASM Radio. More Answers Partyline today here on KASM Radio. Sunshine, one above. We have Dennis Fuchs from the SWCD with us, Rick Berscheid from NRCS with us. Rick, you want to talk a little CSP?
Yes, I just want to let our listeners know the CSP application deadline is coming up. It is March 2nd. Assistance available to agricultural producers through Conservation Stewardship Program, or CSP for short, and that's offered through the NRCS office. It helps private landowners build their business while implementing conservation practices that ensure the sustainability of their entire operation. NRCS plans to enroll up to 10 million acres across the country this sign-up period. And the deadline is March 2nd for the application. Through CSP, agriculture producers and forest landowners earn payments for actively managing, maintaining, and expanding conservation activities like cover crops, ecologically based pest management, buffer strips, and pollinator and beneficial insect habitat. And I just want to kind of go over, the program has changed a little bit from the couple of last signups. Last year was our new system based on this new process. So March 2nd is the deadline. We have a new evaluation tool. We complete a whole farm assessment using an online conservation activity evaluation tool. So we have the producers come on in, sit in the office. We ask them several benchmark questions, get a feeling for how they're currently operating their land. And then we go over the assessment, and through the assessment, it defines our resource concerns that are met. It identifies any additional activities that can be done on the land, and it facilitates in development of the stewardship plan and the CSP contract. It also will help us determine if the stewardship threshold requirements are met. So with the new CSP program, it's required that you meet at least 2 resource concerns at the time of application and address at least 1 more resource concern through the life of the contract. There are 10 different resource concerns that we look at: soil erosion, soil quality degradation, excess water, insufficient water, water quality degradation, air quality impacts, plant condition, fish and wildlife habitat, livestock production, and energy.
So this assessment that's done, how do you know that once the assessment is done and then you're going to get what you want out of that once it's complete?
Yeah, so with the new program, it's a little bit easier to understand. Our old system, we would ask all these questions, and it was a point-based system. It was hard to determine where the points were coming from. The new system, as we go through the list of questions, they're broken down by each resource concern. And as we go through them, and when you get to the end of that set of questions, it'll tell you if you met that resource concern or if there's something we need to do to meet it. And it's a lot easier to understand how the payments work in the new program. The old one was just a certain value per point. Now the new system, it's based on each resource concern you meet. It's a flat $350 payment. And we look at each different land use. So there's 2 different payments. There's existing and any additional enhancements that you do. The minimum contract payments, this is a 5-year program. You get annual payments up for the 5 years. The minimum payment is $1,500. And to earn the payments, you have to meet at least 1 additional conservation activity for each land use. So as an example, we're going to go over, let's say you just have cropland. So we'd take a look at all the questions for cropland. We're looking at your entire operation, so all the land that you have control of for the 5 years. And after we get through all the questions, let's say you met 2 of those 10 resource concerns. Mm-hmm. It'd be a flat $350 per resource concern. Okay. So that'd be $700. And then you also get additional payment per land use per acre. So let's say you had 200 acres of cropland. For cropland, the flat rate is $7.50. So that would be 200 times the 750 would be $1,500. So that would be your benchmark payments for what you're currently doing and how you're operating the land. And then we have a list of close to 200 different enhancements that you can sign up for. And those will pay on based on what you sign up for. So a lot of them are based on per acre. So let's say you're going to establish some pollinator habitat. That would be a certain dollar amount per acre. That would be on top of that annual payment. So it's a lot easier for producers to understand what their payments are going to be before we go through the whole process of going through the evaluation tool. It does take a little bit of time, but we found out it's very beneficial to our producers to sit down, take a look at the entire operation, all land uses, and to see where we can have some conservation benefits.
Is there a maximum payment?
There is. It's based on the per farm bill payment. So for the 2014 farm bill for CSP, the maximum payment is $200,000 over the course of the farm bill. And for an individual contract, it's a maximum of $40,000 a year payment.
Go ahead.
So if you receive the Environmental Quality Incentive Program dollars and CSP, you got to combine those two?
No, those would be separate. Our caps are based on farm bill by program. So CSP payments are separate than EQIP. They're two separate caps. Same thing with FSA programs. That doesn't count towards the CSP cap. It's specifically to that program.
So farmers would have an opportunity to participate in CSP. They go through the whole farm plan process, run the tool, and they could potentially, if they implement enough conservation type practices, they could receive $40,000.
Potentially. It depends on how many acres you're running, how many different enhancements you're completing, and how many of those resource concerns you meet at the time of the application. So it's real easy to figure out. Let's say you had cropland and pasture. We do the assessment for each land use. If you met 2 on one and 5 on the other, it's a flat $350 per resource concern times whatever that value is per acre to come up with a majority of that payment. And then you'd have whatever enhancements you do on top of that would be added on as well.
How soon do they have to implement the improvements of these 10 issues?
So the application deadline is March 2nd. We'll end up doing the farm assessment here end of March, beginning of April, and then it'll probably be around that May-June time period where we'll find out if you are going to be offered a contract. And then you would implement these conservation activities over the next 5 years.
So the 5-year time span. Okay.
Right. So it's a 5-year contract. Okay. And if you've already participated in the past, you can participate again. We'll do the full assessment, and we'll be addressing new resource concerns that you have not already addressed.
What if they don't successfully address the issues that they want to tackle?
Well, when we go through the assessment, we'll determine which items are available. If it just doesn't work for you at this time, that's okay. We've had producers go through the assessment and said, this program just is not going to work for me at this time. Mm-hmm. And we were able to find some other program that would work for them that was a little bit better for their operation.
So they're not going to fail. That's not the point.
No. And it's worth the time. We learn a lot about your operations and can help you address any of the problems or resource concerns or improvements that you want to make on your farm, even if it's not through this program.
So, Rick, say I'm a dairy farmer and I got 300-400 acres and corn, soybean, alfalfa, oat rotation, several fields. When you say it's going to take some time, are you looking at me sitting down with you guys for 8 hours or 4 hours? If I'm going to try to schedule a visit with you guys, how much time should I set aside to go through my farm?
Sure. It takes a few hours to go through the assessment. We'll sit down one-on-one, and it's an online tool where we got to ask several questions, and their answers based on your current operation. So every operation is going to be different. It does take a few hours because we have to go through those 10 resource concerns, and there's several questions under each of them. And then after we find out which resource concerns you met and what activities you want to do, we have to ask you a few more questions, and we're really tailoring this conservation plan / contract to fit your operation. So we need to have all that input from you to make sure that we're offering a quality plan to you.
So it's not one of those, well, you got to sign on the dotted line right now. You have time to soak it all in. And
you got to sign on the dotted line by March 2nd for your application.
Okay.
We'll go through the assessment here following that. You're not tied to anything if by signing an application or going through the assessment. It comes down to when we actually offer you a contract and when we're going to obligate the funds towards the contract. That's when you're going to be locked in to do what we come up with. But again, it's based on what's going to work for you and on your operation. So there's close to 200 different enhancements. Hopefully we can find a couple that work for you to improve your operation and get some more conservation on the ground.
So I need to get into your office by next week Friday.
Next week Friday. And then on Saturday you can go to the
Pheasants Forever
Banquet. And then let everyone know that we're going to be installing habitat for our pheasants, and we're going to be doing a lot of great conservation out there.
Ow! I bet you they can talk to you at the farm show, too, next week.
Absolutely.
Prior to that.
And even if it's not just the right time right now, you can come talk to us at any of these events. We're always there to help you. We can answer questions. We can let you know how it's going, what is currently being offered. Will it work for you? Will it not? We can do that at any time. We just have these annual sign-up deadlines, so we can take an application at any time. You would just be evaluated at the next deadline, which would be probably this time next year.
Okay.
And Brad did mention the Central Minnesota Farm Show next week. We are going to have staff at the show. I'm going to be working all day on Tuesday, February 27th, and it runs until Thursday. And we'll have different staff working Wednesday and Thursday to help answer questions.
You're going to be combined in one booth, NRCS, SWCD?
Yeah.
We will be.
One chair will be this, one chair will be that?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Right.
And I'm planning on roaming around a little bit just to say hi to our partners out there, our contractors, our farmers, and all the friendly folks that'll be at the Central Minnesota Farm Show. And I think that's at the River's Edge
Convention Center.
And KASM Radio is going to be there.
Yes, we will.
That is awesome. We'll hopefully talk to Randy on Tuesday.
Yep.
We do have another activity coming up.
Boy, you guys are just full of activities. Yeah. What else is going on?
You want to make sure that we share what we got with our landowners out there. And the other thing is a local farmers fair. Last year we had this over at Sauk Center at Elmer's. And this year we're going to Roscoe at the Roadside Tavern. And that'll be on March 8th. And one thing, if you're planning on making it to that, you need to pre-register. And the deadline to get that done is Monday, February 26th. That's coming up mighty quick. So while you're thinking of it, so the activity is going to be 8 to 4:30 on March 8th, which is a Thursday, I think, right? Yes, Thursday, March 8th. And you need to pre-register. Do it right now. And I'll give you a phone number. So grab a pen. And here it is. It's at the Sauk River Watershed District. They're partners on helping put this great event together. And the phone number is 320-352-2231. And say you want to pre-register for the Farmers Fair on March 8th.
Dennis, what's the benefit for me to pre-registering versus showing up at the door?
Well, geez, I'll tell you why it's worthwhile. Pre-registration intent for a chance to win a $500 Mills Fleet gift card.
Woo!
Yeah, that's quite the deal. And you got to pre-register in order to access that $500 gift card, and you have to be present to win. So we just don't want people to show up for lunch. Mm-hmm. So this is just a great way.
And it's free if you pre-register. Yeah. Otherwise, it's $30 at the door.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. That's another reason.
There you go.
Yeah. Thanks, Brad.
You're welcome.
He's awesome. So you're probably wondering, well, what the heck? A farmer's fair? What's going on? Well, this is not your ordinary workshop, people. No, the farmer's fair is designed to be a lively, interactive learning opportunity. We're going to have lots of specialists there and vendors that can answer questions. We're going to have a lot of our resource professionals there. And there's going to be a variety of presenters, and they're all going to be sharing their knowledge and expertise in a midway full of vendors offering the most recent information on products, services, and a room to socialize. So you guys want to hear about some of the topics?
I do.
Okay, well, hang on a second. So registration will begin at 8 o'clock for those that didn't pre-register. And there's a reason you should pre-register. Get that $500 gift card. You got access to
win.
Potential win.
Chance to win, yeah.
Yeah, you don't get it.
You get a chance to win.
Chance to win, yes. Yeah, not everybody gets a $500 gift card, just that one lucky person. And folks like us, we are not eligible to win. It's for
you sound so sad when you say that.
I love Mills Fleet. Okay, registration at 8, and then we're going to kick off at 9:20 with welcome and opening remarks from Dan Martins, University of Minnesota Extension agent that's been around central Minnesota for a long time, does a great job. And then at 9:30, we're going to talk about cover crops and a variety of crop rotations. And I think that's so appropriate for this part of the state where we have corn, soybean, and we've got alfalfa, and we got small grains. And how do you incorporate cover crops in a variety of rotations? And Jim Schoffer from Ag Resource Consulting is going to talk about that. And we're going to take a break at 10:30, a half-hour break that gives us a chance to visit with some of the vendors there in the Midway. And then 11 o'clock, we're going to have Dr. James Eckberg from the University of Minnesota talk about cover crop seeding methods. Should we be doing an aerial application? Should we be doing a interseeding after the crop canopy gets established? Or when should we be doing that? And he'll help answer those questions. And then from 12 to 1, we're going to have lunch right at the Midway, and that'll be open for networking. And then at 1 o'clock, we're going to have integrating cover crops and manure. We're going to have Randy Pepin from the University of Minnesota Extension Service talk about that, and also a farmer from Stearns County, Grant Anderson, out in the Belgrade area, is going to talk about how they have worked using manure and cover crops and working the two together. At 1:30, we're going to have ag land management practices to reduce soil loss, and we're going to have some local examples from some of our local farmers. One farmer is Matt Thralo. Another actual employee from our office, Mike Hemman, and then Mark Lefebvre, also an employee with the SWCD, are going to talk about some of the things that they've worked with our local landowners and get some of their perspectives. And then we're going to have Tim Raditz at 2 o'clock talk about our Discovery Farm results. Discovery Farms are set up to help identify what kind of nutrients, pollutants are moving off of fields, and we've had one in Stearns County. And he's going to be sharing that information, what we find under different crop production practices. And at 2:30, we're going to have Paul Sweeney with Ecosystem Service Exchange talk about drain tile inlets and outlets, alternatives for water quality. That should be interesting. And then at 3 o'clock, we're going to have ag land management practices to reduce soil loss. Some more local examples. We've got Dave Gamrod and Dan Schlungen, two farmers that are going to share their perspectives. And then at 3:30, we're going to adjourn speakers and then announce the winner of the $500 Mills Fleet Farm gift card. It must be present to win. And then Midway area will be open with refreshments and cash bar. I like beer. Meow.
Wow.
And then at 4:30, the Midway area will be closed. So it's just a great opportunity for farmers to come in, visit with our staff. We got some great staff. We also got some great speakers and vendors there. And the Roadside Tavern is a great place in Roscoe to have everybody meet. It's centrally located, easy to access, easy parking. Parking is free. The lunch is going to be awesome. I hope to see everybody out there.
Register by Monday.
Yes, please.
It's free.
And
if you register by Monday.
I'll give that phone number again. After hearing all that, you probably were thinking, I don't know if I want to go to a farmer's fair, but after hearing all that, I wish I would have wrote down that phone number. Well, here's that phone number, 320-352-2231. That'll get you in contact with Lynn at the Sauk River Watershed District, and if Lynn's not there, just say you want to pre-register for the farmer's fair on March 8th.
Second annual.
All right.
And we're going to have the SWCD staff and NRCS staff there as well. So if you have any questions from anything that you've heard or learned at the Farmers Fair, just grab one of the staff persons around and they can gladly take your information and try to get you the answers that you need and see what's available for programs to assist you.
Yeah, that's right.
And you're going to be stumping Washington?
Yeah, so we just scheduled our next radio show. That'll be March 22nd. Mm-hmm. You get everybody out there. Please get it on your calendar. I know you just love the Rick and Dennis show. And Brad. Without Brad, our anchor, we'd be kind of...
I just hit the buttons.
But, so I'm going to be out there March 19, 20, and 21. And it's the National Association of Conservation Districts fly-in, where we've got multiple meetings lined up with our Congress folks here in Minnesota. And also some of the committee, ag committee heads, chairs of those committees. Also, we're hoping to meet with some lead USDA staff. And this is the Farm Bill year, and there's a lot of things in the Farm Bill that impacts our local communities right here, including the conservation provisions of the Farm Bill, the Environmental Quality Incentive Program, the Conservation Reserve Program, the Conservation Stewardship Program, a lot of the things that we talk about here. So we're going to try to help and encourage our Congress folks to keep those numbers up where they belong. Hopefully we can get a few more CRP acres for those folks that would like to get some of their marginal cropland out of production and put it into a Conservation Reserve Program. And then if there's other challenges for farmers to address their resource concerns, make sure that we have those funds put in the Farm Bill. And we'll be out there, and I'll be sharing that information on how that went when we show up on the radio on March 22nd for the...
But how will you bring your persuasive message to make that impact?
I'm going to comb my hair.
I mean, are you going to be in a group with many others? How are you going to get your, say, hey, listen to me?
Yeah, so we actually are making appointments, and then there's a delegation from Minnesota that are actually going to go there. It includes the Ian Cunningham. He's the NACD rep for Minnesota, the National Association of Conservation. He's a supervisor from Southwest Minnesota, Pipestone area. And then we also have several other folks going, and I am the person coming from Stearns County, because Stearns County is one of the highest EQIP workload areas in the nation being the United States of America.
Sure.
So they wanted to hear something from us here locally about how important these programs are for our local producers.
All right. Otherwise, visit both you, Dennis Fuchs, and Rick Berscheid. Both of you can be visited at the Central Minnesota Farm Show. All 3 days?
Well,
somebody will be out there.
Yeah, somebody will. I'll be there on Tuesday.
Okay. Rick, are you going to be out there any specific day? Okay.
But you can come see me at the office.
You can see at the office.
Absolutely.
But you'll have some staff there.
Yes, we'll have staff there. We have a booth. We're going to have at least 2 people at the booth. We'll be mixing up who's at the booth in the morning and the afternoon sessions. So if you stop by at one time, come back, see us again. Maybe there'll be someone else there you can ask different questions to, and they can help you out as well. And
wonderful.
We'll be there.
All right. Rick Berscheid, NRCS, Dennis Fuchs, SWCD. Rick and Dennis, thank you for your time again.
Well, thank you, Brad.
All right.
Thanks, Brad.
Appreciate it.
10 o'clock, we'll have news coming up.